Welcome to Day Zero Update for July 20th, 2025. I'm your host, Chris Elogi.
Brandon Perkins.
And I'm Dan Red Victoria.
And yeah, this has been a pretty busy week of news. We have a number of games coming out, especially next week.
Yep.
We got a game being delisted. It's not a huge surprise. We got Nintendo news. They're going to let you play two things in the near future.
Yeah.
We got some the first big delay after we did a release date preview.
Yep.
And probably the least surprising company to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We got a bunch of shit going on in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
In various ways. Yeah, we'll get to all that. But we do have some good news at the end. But yeah, before we get to that, we'll talk about what we've been playing, and I'll kick it off here. I've been playing some Donkey Kong Bananza.
Yep.
I'm still in the first area, or the first new area you get to. It starts with Donkey Kong amongst his co-workers working at a mine, trying to get bananas, as they are wont to do. There's also a lot of gold in this area. They kind of just let you go do whatever. You kind of just go run around and do the mainline stuff, or you can go and punch a bunch of rocks and punch your way around and collect all the gold that you can. Because that is kind of the coins of this. Because yeah, this coming from the Super Mario Odyssey team, it's very much got the framework of Super Mario Odyssey in a lot of ways. So the coins, the gold here is your coins, and so if you happen to die, you lose 500 of those gold, and you get kind of different amounts of gold from things because you got like little nuggets and bigger ball form like gold, and you get bigger stuff than that. And yeah, initially you're kind of just going around doing this, going through these different areas as it's showing you what controls you've got and all that. And it makes a pretty good amount of sense, though. I would say the nature of being able to just bust through any rocky walls and such around you kind of causes the camera to go
haywire
nuts all over all the time.
Yeah.
Because I was playing it after it unlocked before going to bed, and as I was like nodding off, I was just constantly stuck in a tunnel of my own making in like first person view, because the camera can't really deal with that. You do get into more open areas, like some stuff happens. The place that you're working near gets sucked into this vortex that then drops it down below the surface level, I think they call it. They tell you like each new place, like this is you get to the next area and it's surface level 100, and as you drop down, even from there without going to the next like level, it'll be like, oh, this is surface level 101 kind of thing. And it's you kind of run into this place that deals with a lot of, there's not much framework to this. Like in Odyssey, you have the ship. You kind of do your thing, you beat a boss in an area, and then you go back to your ship to go to the next area. And so far, there hasn't been any of that for me. I'm basically in the area below, like surface level 101, still at this point. So I basically been going around doing, busting through a bunch of stuff, collecting bananas. I think I'm at like 20 or 30 or so. They're very much all over the place, and much like Odyssey, it stops to tell you like, oh, this is the title associated with this banana.
Oh.
And it's like I just punched through a wall and there it was. There was no grand. It doesn't tell you, I think, ahead of time. Like Odyssey had like little titles for things that could give you hints where they are.
Yeah.
Which makes sense when you're not able to really manipulate your environment that much. Whereas here, you kind of just bust through the place, and it's like, oh, here's one. Occasionally when I'm hitting the clap thing that lets you collect all the gold near you, but also can show you in like a radar fashion of like, oh, here's a banana next to you. There's also other currencies. There's what is it? That's artifacts. It's like fossils, like a few different types of fossils that you spend at the dress shop to get more clothing items, which it seems like a lot of those affect your own abilities. So the earliest ones I've gotten make you swim better or faster, I guess. So I can't swim down into the water. From what I've seen so far, that's probably something I'll get at some point. But I've run into areas of water where there's like gold clearly leading down, which maybe a lot of the things you do around here creates giant holes to go down to the next section of the tier area that you're in. It almost feels like a One Piece game, which if you know the part of One Piece where they get to the blue line and they're kind of hopping between islands. That seems like what this is, where they're kind of their own ecosystem essentially of sorts, because you drop down from the area where the like mining shop is at, and initially you get a sense from the monkeys that are hanging around there, like, oh, these are the losers that are falling down from here. We don't trust you. These are our golden bananas to collect, but then they get stolen by the bad guys.
Yeah.
And so there's like despite this area being almost like a beachy type of area, like this is underground, but it looks like a whole normal place, like some of the underwater areas that they go in One Piece, and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of that where it's like, oh, this, I don't know that I want to think about the way this world works. But yeah, it's very much that kind of game where you just kind of farting around. You find a lot of chests, treasure chests that will, if they don't give you gold, they give you like a map, or add to your map icons to tell you like, oh, here's a fossil, here's a banana, this kind of stuff, and you can go into the map screen and highlight them or pin them. Though I would say that system seems pretty bad so far because you really have to get almost exactly to where it's at to see the pin. It doesn't like highlight it in the distance in any way, so you're just kind of like popping back and forth. Like, okay, wait, where was this at? Because it's just an icon overlaid, essentially what is a version of that area, sort of miniaturized. So I've seen people say that there's like a little performance issue with that stuff, which makes sense for the way that they show it. But yeah, there's sometimes where you just see icons, you're like, okay, wait, where the hell is this? Because it's overlaid over the environment. So sometimes it's like, okay, this, I thought I was here, but it's actually over this way. And you run into, like in Donkey Kong Country fashion, there's a lot of side things here. You find little portals that you essentially have to do the like ground pound ability to activate, and you get transported. And there's ones focused on taking out enemies in a certain amount of time. Some that have 3 bananas in them that are separated throughout this, like linear course. But maybe one of them is very tricky to find. That kind of stuff. The toughest one of those was like a thing where you're essentially climbing on a ceiling grate, like series of areas here that you had to get across, and they throw walls at you to block off this path that you have to kind of bust through to keep progressing forward, that kind of stuff. And I've dropped a few times, and that's the it's balloons is another currency you get, sort of like in country, but instead of being lives, they are essentially, you fell, to your death in this area. It'll reset you back to the nearest piece of ground that you were on. there's those kind of ones. There's others that are just like, oh, there's a bunch of gold, just fuck shit up and see how much of it you can get, kind of stuff. So they have a lot of stuff like that. And yeah, for every 5 bananas you get a skill point you can put on your skill tree, which generally seems to do a lot of like, oh, your punch is stronger, you have more health, that kind of stuff, enhancing some of the abilities. So there are a few that seem to give you new abilities, but the ones that are enhancing your abilities seem to have a few different upgrades to them. But also that screen seems to have more pegs off to the right of it, so there's probably going to be a lot more to add to it. But yeah, it's a very fun game. It's a very loose, loosely structured game. It seems like you can probably do mainlining if you want. It's not very tough for any of that. It's like the big tough areas are these like stone crocodile creatures that show up that you usually pick up a piece of rock or explosive rock to hit them with or throw at them that will bust them down to their like golden skeleton core. Then you beat up, and somebody by the end, the last one has a key that will fly into a lock, and you have to punch that to spin it around and unlock the thing. And also, I guess as a sign of where I'm at, Pauline is still a rock. A singing rock. They help you with certain unbreakable materials that are covering different things. They're covering a lot of challenge stuff at certain points, and also covering big holes that you can go down. But yeah, she has not turned into a human form. She's just like what they call odd rock. And you do use the singing, which is sort of a here's where you need to go. This is your next mainline thing. So if you kind of lose track of where you're supposed to go, that's kind of way of highlighting where you need to go, and it'll even show you a path to that. But it's also an interesting game because it also has like Dark Souls elements of you get to these areas where there's big drops down, and you can literally bust a thing that drops a rope down. So that if you're down there and need to get up more quickly, you just climb this rope kind of thing. That's maybe the one Dark Souls thing. Otherwise, I haven't run into too much else with this game. But yeah, it's just kind of fun to run around and fuck with things. You kind of talk to monkeys around that generally don't seem to give you like side quests. As far as I've seen, they kind of just seem to have multiple characters that will often point you in the same direction, just in case you don't go the preferred way. They usually have somebody to be like, oh yeah, there's these plugs. We got problems with our water. There's these weird plugs in the water system here. You need to go and destroy all 3 of these things, and they'll point out which one you need to do. There's like multiples that I've seen point out the same thing, so I assume that must be why you can kind of just ignore everything that's going on and do whatever. So yeah, it makes for a really interesting experience, and certainly a collectathon game that is much more interesting than Donkey Kong 64 is, because you don't have to swap between different characters to collect things. It's just Donkey Kong. And I do like his character here, as everybody that he runs into is like, oh, there's Donkey Kong. He just punches things. He's the strongest one of us. So, you run up to characters like, I can't open this chest. I can't do this thing. And you go punch it open. He's like, oh, great. You can have it then, since you did this. Same with a lot of the challenges that these characters are hanging around. They're like, oh, how'd you get in there? It's like, oh, I punched it. Of course. How he does everything. So yeah, it makes for a really interesting game, and I'm looking forward to playing some more of it. I would say this is maybe another game that I don't want to play in handheld mode because my hands naturally rest on the L and R buttons. because they're extended on the Switch itself, the Switch 2 itself, and I end up having a lot of times where I'm just holding down the whistle button, or R, I think, does the slap hand slap thing for either busting up areas to collect gold, or the radar thing. So yeah, it's tough when they're just doing that a bunch accidentally because of the way that you have to hold Switch 2 when you're holding it in handheld mode. So I'm trying to use my Pro controller more if I'm going to play it in not docked mode, but also I'm just probably going to start playing it more in docked mode when I can, because it's a game that looks really nice in full screen and all that. So yeah. So yeah, that's Donkey Kong Bananza. Seems really good so far, so I'm looking forward to playing some more of it and seeing what other weird stuff is in there. I have found Cranky Kong and Ramby. He complains that you weren't around when all the shit went bad, so he had to bring Ramby down with him to try to solve the problem. And then you run into him, and he's like, "All right, well, you can do it now." And he gives you, I think, a free banana whenever you find him. So yeah, there's a lot more going on in this with a lot of the picking up rocks element that you can connect to things, and there's a lot of weird little extra mechanics in this game that are mostly good. It's so weird running into the vine stuff that will just be the one thing that does damage to you that I've seen so far. As like the one thing I died on is I used rocks to break it up, but had like one little piece I didn't see, and I just kept hitting it and died as a result. I think I've only died twice so far. One was in a challenge stage because I kept falling off of a thing, and the other one was just dying on a stupid little piece of vine that I didn't see in this area. But yeah, it's one of those games like Super Mario Odyssey where you kind of want to explore every nook and cranny and kind of find all the weird little side stuff before you kind of get to the mainline stuff. At least for me, it is. And kind of finding the things that will unlock a lot of the cool outfits and all that. Right now, I just have some basic stuff like a new tie that I think makes more treasure chests show up when you're punching around into rock, and some pants that make you swim better. Funny thing in one of the opening cutscenes is he has pants on, working in the mines, and then the big like black hole-ish kind of thing shows up and sucks his pants off of him. They kind of have like a weird little Bart Simpson thing from the Simpsons movie, where he falls down and has a big rock crash onto him, everything but his crotch, essentially. It was like, oh, okay, they're highlighting that he's naked, and they do call it naked in the clothing screen when you don't have pants on. So, like, oh, they covered it with hair, obviously, any sort of genitals, but they're acknowledging that this is not a Donald Duck situation or anything. But yeah, that's Donkey Kong Bananza. I'm looking forward to playing more of that. The other thing I played this week is Golden Tee Arcade Classics, the Digital Clips collection that came out on the same day as Donkey Kong Bananza. That's on everything, $30. It includes I think the first 7 of the games that were released in the arcades in the 90s and early 2000s. It's a very good collection I played so far. I would say maybe PlayStation 4 or 5 and PC might be the best places to play this, because on PC there are some trackball style accessories. I don't know how easily they work with this thing. But on PlayStation, they have an option to use the trackpad on the DualSense and the DualShock 4, which works pretty well as a substitute for it, at least once I got used to how the controls work. They do also have, you know, button-based versions where you're essentially kind of, if you don't know the way that the trackpad worked, essentially you had three directions down to roll the ball back. That would determine, if you're going to do like hook shots or whatever. There's always a diagram on the side of the machine, or you can hit R2 on the controller to pull up a bigger version of that, so you can kind of see like what angles you might want to go with your shot if you're not just going straight. And then on the follow through, you pick one of the top three directions that will finish that off. If you're just doing a straight shot, it's just straight down, straight back up. And the thing that took me a bit with the trackpad is that it's not like a right stick thing that like the Tiger Woods games would do, where it's a full motion back and forth. If you're doing these different shots, you can sit there and swipe it in the bottom direction that you need to, and then stop touching, and then start swiping it up the way that you want. So it's not necessarily having to do a weird direction thing with it. It's kind of it gets much easier once you realize that kind of stuff. And also that the follow through, you're swiping up is the most important part of a lot of your shots, especially on the green with the putter kind of thing, or your approach shots from the bunker or the rough around the green. A lot of stuff, once you kind of get the hang of it, I was doing a lot better sinking longer putts and getting a few good approach shots into the hole, or getting very close kind of stuff. And yeah, it works pretty well. And these are the thing about these games is that they do not all the sequels were upgrades for the machines. If you don't know your arcade stuff, a lot of machines were basically upgrade kits where you had the one of the base kits, base machines. You could essentially just open it up, pull out the old kits and plug in the new one, and not have to change buttons or anything. And they have some of this art in there for the arcade flyers that are, as they were sold to, or sent out to arcade operators, of like, hey, this is just an easy upgrade kit. You get the marquee stuff that you have to change out, but otherwise, you don't have to change the buttons or anything super expensive. And so a lot of the visuals for these games don't really change too much. It's mostly like some UI stuff they change with each release. And these are kind of different arcade games than I was thinking the way they worked, because I was assuming you might, log in with your initials and it would apply every like record that it has to that, but you have to kind of keep entering it in over and over again. Though it usually, once you've started playing a machine and entered in your initials, it'll then just auto put those in. You just confirm it, hit the X button a couple times to do that. So yeah, it has all the stuff you want for this. There's save states. There's no rewind, but they have mulligans for this. Maybe the one issue I have is that you can adjust the mulligans from like 1 to 18, and I kind of wish there was just an infinite option. Otherwise, if you're trying to figure out how to play it, you end up just wasting a lot of those. And they do have a practice mode with a bunch of situations to try out if you want to figure that out for yourself. But I was just jumping into the game itself to figure it out, and eventually got there. But yeah, it's a game that'll take a little bit if you're not a veteran of it, as I was not. I maybe played one of the original versions as a kid when it was at a restaurant my dad would take me to on occasion. It had a couple machines there, which I think was usually a Golden Tee and a Miss Pac-Man. So there's like two of the arcade games I played the most as a kid. So it was nice jumping into this and be like, oh yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff here as far as playing golf, and it eventually became a huge game in like the 2000s and 2010s, where they I believe they look a lot better now and have internet connectivity so they can have more tournament stuff. The Flyers have a lot of information about tournaments on them. They were running them back then, but I think more as a local thing of inviting people to, you know, the bar, the arcade, whatever, to do tournaments and such. But yeah, everything's free play here. So even though you can hit the pad to insert credits, everything's on free play, so that doesn't really matter for this. But you can play 1 to 4 player games for all that. There's also 2 bonus games in it. There's a what is it? There's a bowling game, and there's one that's like a shuffle board game kind of thing. The bowling game's pretty simple. You just swipe it up on the touchpad to send it. It has options for trying to do like hook shots with that. That's maybe the toughest game to get good at because it's very particular in how you're spinning things and how you like visually your ability to tell where you need to aim kind of is a little bit more of a challenge. So that's one that's they have achievements and trophies for the shuffleboard game and the bowling game. And the bowling game has one for getting a 200, which I think I've gotten like 140, 150. My plan is basically just do a save state before each frame and just try and get a strike or a spare with it, and then move on to the next one and save again before I do that. So I just have better of an option there. There's no mulligans or anything for that, but also it's so quick you can finish a whole 10 frames in like 5 minutes. But the shuffleboard ones were pretty interesting. It's pretty sure this if you would tell me the developers are Canadian, I would believe it because this game in particular has a lot of Canadian voice acting in it in a funny way. And yeah, it has like 5 different games in it. Some of them are basic, like bocce ball style thing, or shuffleboard kind of style thing. There's a curling style thing there. And yeah, you're just basically running these little roller pucks down the board against an AI or another player. And you're kind of often watching them try to get this onto, you know, bullseye looking thing and then try and hit them out of it or get your own shot close to it and getting scored based on that stuff. Fairly simple idea for there, but they also do have like a tougher mode for that. Bowling has a similar thing called, I think, flash mode, where essentially you have numbers on the top of the screen that it's lighting up as time goes on, and basically when you hit the pins is what score you get off of that. Though I didn't really understand the scoring on that, so I didn't really play that one too much. But yeah, it's a fun little collection here of golf games. It's, you know, fairly bare bones one with no real story to it or anything. That would have been nice to have some history of the series kind of thing and some, you know, interviews with the developers and whatnot. But that seems to not be what they were going for here. Maybe they didn't have access to the devs from the original games or whatever. But for what's there, it's a very fun collection. I'm gonna keep playing some more here and there. So yeah, it's a fun one. And the last game I played is Shadow Labyrinth, one of like a handful of Bandai Namco games that they've got coming out over the next few months. And this one is basically, what if you had a Metroid game, but Pac-Man was involved in it? And they start off with a fun little scene of this like space mech fight situation as they're kind of teaching you some basic controls. And the weird thing with the controls is that they have different controls based on the different forms you have. But yeah, initially you kind of do this, and then things get messed up and the mech, the Pac-Man mech gets sent down onto the planet, and you kind of wake up and you're told you're number 8. I think you're a clone of maybe the operator for the mech. They don't really tell you anything as the Pac-Man, which is named Puck, which if you don't know was the original name for Pac-Man was Puckman. Then the devs realized that maybe not making it so easy for teenagers to scratch out a thing and have it say Fuckman was a good idea. So they said, well, we'll just call it Pac-Man.
Yep.
And make that work. So that was a fun little thing here. They called the little Pac-Man drone thing that's goes around with you is Puck. He's kind of telling you some story stuff and tutorializing how you're doing things. You go to pick up this sword and you can't pick it up. Your character sort of has like a cloak over you. So I don't know if you have arms or not, but you get a prosthetic robot arm that is able to handle the sword and do attacks and all that kind of stuff. And from there, it just kind of keeps adding more and more stuff to it and makes this kind of more of a complicated Metroidy game. So it's got elements of like Hollow Knight and a number of other games in this genre. You fight a lot of enemies. Mostly so far have been like animal types of enemies. I haven't fought any big mechs or anything just yet. I did fight a big giant ball that you kind of turn into, or whenever you beat a boss, the Puck kind of takes over your body and turns into a big, like, let's just say, almost like a Venom symbiote style version of Pac-Man and swallows up the enemy, and you absorb the power from that. It's like one of the first signs, like, oh, this is going to be a lot of weird Pac-Man stuff layered onto this game that otherwise would be a fairly simple Pac-Man thing or Metroidy thing. And from there, that first boss, you kind of are able to turn into a Pac-Man form. Whenever you run over what they call D-lines, essentially like railings that you see around the environment that you have to activate generally. Once you do that, you kind of turn into this Pac-Man form that has a jump ability, so you can jump between over gaps or to other rails, that kind of stuff. There's an attack element there where you kind of turn back into your like human form to attack with the sword, and then turn back into the Pac-Man form. That stuff is a little bit clumsy so far from the way it feels, because you can't just attack enemies that are near you. You essentially are jumping off in the process. So I've definitely fallen off into dangerous areas and died as a result of trying to figure that stuff out. That's kind of stuff that takes a bit to understand. It keeps track of all the pop-ups for controls and such, and you can check all that stuff, but it definitely gets very into the weeds on how a lot of this stuff works. There's an automatic movement mode when you're in that Pac-Man rail mode. I've turned that off because you don't always want to just be constantly moving, especially when you're trying to deal with enemies and make precise jumps to get around. And then, you kind of deal with that stuff. It's got some Souls-like elements to it where you run into essentially what is a bonfire type equivalent, where you refill your Estus flask you get to refill your health when you take enough damage. But you can only do that back at the these like bonfire points that are also your save points, and you can teleport between them there. But there's also a lesser equivalent of that you can't teleport, or you may not be able to teleport. So you definitely can't do upgrades through it, and you can't refill your flask from it, I don't think. I could be wrong on some of those mechanics there because it does throw a lot at you, but there are versions that will just essentially save for you, and others will let you do more with them. That's kind of a thing to deal with. And then you get to a boss that essentially is where you get your mech form, where after you beat enough enemies, you fill up this meter. You can turn into this mech and really, take out enemies pretty easily, and bosses. So far, all of the bosses have been pretty easy for what they are. I think the second boss I fought, which is a character that kind of runs away afterwards, so it's kind of one that you will, as I assume, link to your past in a way, so they kind of keep running off after they challenge you and you take them out. It's an interesting system for the mech. It does not take a lot of like gaps with spikes and steam spewing all over them that would normally kill you or do damage to you that the mech can just run through. But when you get the mech form, you also get this ability to collect materials from these enemies, which is where the upgrade stuff starts to go into full overdrive as you get a few things you can get with just the basic currency. But then there's a bunch of stuff that requires materials, and it'll show you in the menus that like this currency can drop from, some of them have like 2 dozen enemies that can drop the same thing, so it's not super complicated, but it is trying to figure out which ones have special materials that you need for certain upgrades. And so that can be a little frustrating. You can do that collection in your human form, but it uses up your stamina. You have a stamina that's when you dodge rolls, and this collection thing will take up a chunk of your stamina. So if you run into areas that are full of enemies, it can pick up multiple enemies at once, but it can be very finicky about that. So sometimes you'll just go to pick stuff up, and if you're pointing the analog stick or the D-pad in the wrong direction, it can go into almost like 8-way in diagonals, upwards, downwards, that kind of stuff. I've had a number of times where I try to go collect a thing and I'm pointing the stick in the wrong direction, the wrong direction, and it misses it, and you don't get much time to collect things. It's like a few seconds. So you can lose materials, and there's like a lot of frustrating stuff with that, especially when you're faced with a bunch of enemies that are kind of tough to take down, and then you're losing stamina to the collection thing and all that. It ends up becoming a very complicated game. Where I'm at right now, I've gotten out of the mountain facility that you're in for the first hour and a half or so, and now I'm in the point where I'm fighting like natives on this planet that are always coming after you, kind of thing. And I'm trying to get a save point somewhere around here so I can breathe a little more easily, but I just kind of end up running from this other area over a few screens until I get to there. Yeah, it's a pretty solid game. $30 might be a bit much for what I've played so far. I assume in the next few months it'll probably be on sale for $20 to $25. It might be a better price point to jump in, especially if they can do some updates and maybe tune some things a little bit better. But yeah, so far been enjoying that a bit. But it's probably the worst of the three here that I've been playing. But yeah, not a bad game, just a little. It loves to throw jargon at you that you have no concept of what it means, because it's all in-world stuff that Puck describes things as, and it's like, this is a bunch of gibberish that I, as a person trying to play this game, doesn't understand. When it's talking about D lines, and I think there's a few other letter line things, I don't remember a lot of it. I just usually, my eyes glaze over when I see that. I'm like, this is nothing here. It doesn't mean anything. But yeah, that's Shadow Labyrinth. But yeah, that's been pretty much what I've been playing. So how about you, Brandon? What have you been doing?
As for me, the newer thing I'm playing is Neo Feud, which is this old kind of point and click adventure game, came out in 2017. It's basically like a cyberpunk-ish future that takes place like in 2033, where there's like all of these synthetic peoples that are all around. You play as one of them, uh, working as like a as like a working as like a private detective, trying to solve a murder because whatever function you were originally made for either no longer exists or you're just sort of obsolete. But the thing is, it's got this sort of it ended up being like weirdly, I guess, timely for some reason, because one of the things you find out early on is that all of the extremely rich and wealthy of the Neo-Feud universe have essentially all gone to these isolated floating cities that are like parked over most of the major areas on the planet, and at least in the United States, and or what used to be the United States. And basically they've started taking on like the customs of the old French aristocracy before the revolution. And it's just, I haven't really gotten into it that far, but just automatically it's like, wow, this is weirdly timely, and I don't know why. But I'm kind of looking forward to playing more of that. But the other big thing I've been playing is still the System Shock 2 remaster, and I'm just about done with it. I've got like 2 more areas I got to get through, and then that's the game. Unfortunately, from what I remember back when I originally played this game, these are a part of the hardest part of the entire game. Mostly because at least the area I just got through, which is arguably the worst part of the entire game, one of the like main missions you have to do, one of the main tasks is you have to hunt down these dark like lava eggs that are like hiding in these little creches like all over this area. And it's not really linear. Because yeah, kind of you can find like maybe a bit about half of them out in the open, but the other ones you have to like actively go out and hunt for. And the worst part is that because of the way this game is, the game is now sending out like its strongest enemies at you all at once. So we're talking about like the security droids, which are like these huge, like hulking mech-sized robots that have like lasers and rockets to shoot you. We're talking about the cyborg assassins, which are literally just ninjas that throw knives at you. And then there's the what are sometimes called the hominids or the offspring or whatever. Basically these huge, like weird, hulking, fleshy creatures that are basically like the strongest thing in the entire game, and they throw more than one at you. So you're doing that on top of trying to find these eggs. But then it also adds probably the other thing, probably the one thing about any first-person game that is always just the worst idea, period. And that's platforming. And this isn't like the type of platforming where like you can kind of see where you're going to go. No, this is more of the I'm going to go in that general direction and pray that I make contact with where I'm supposed to land. Because remember, this is like 1999, 2000. They still hadn't gotten around the idea of like how you're supposed to do jumping in a first person shooter just yet. Yeah, I finally got through that part last night, and now I'm in the second to last area, which is very hard. Not hard in the sense like the last one was where it was a bunch of bullshit, but like genuinely difficult. Because again, you got a bunch of strong enemies. You've also got to hunt for stuff to get these openings out. And it's also just very, very disgusting because you're literally inside of a giant organism in this part of the game trying to find its brain and kill it. I've already started my review, and I should have it on the website before this time next week, so y'all be looking out for that. But overall, it's still the game I remember it in all the best and worst ways possible. It's still a really solid game of that era. It's still made a bunch of advances in gaming that were mind-blowing when the game came out. And all in all, it still plays all right, but compared to like the games that would come after it, be it BioShock, which was Irrational's next project, or hell, even Deus Ex, which released around that time period. And that game's like 25 years old. System Shock 2, there are a lot of parts of it that just haven't aged well at all. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. So, Danrib, what about you?
Yeah, the main thing on my plate has primarily been Donkey Kong Bananza. I know Chris hasn't gotten too far. Me, on the other hand, this is like all I've been playing. Like, there's been some other stuff, but this has primarily been like my comfort food for right now. I'm about 18 hours into the game, and to put it to perspective, it's very similar to games like Mario Odyssey where you can mainline them, but at the same time, it's like the jump between Super Mario Sunshine, or sorry, Super Mario Galaxy to Super Mario Odyssey was huge. I forget how many stars were in Galaxy, but Odyssey has somewhere around like 700 moons. Donkey Kong Bananza has around 650 golden bananas or bananium shards or whatever they're called. And yeah, so this is like something I didn't even really expect at all. It's not that I was on media blackout, but honestly, like this game wasn't it didn't really capture my interest. So I did not watch the full direct or things like that. And I watched a few short videos. I do know that The Rock turns into Pauline, and I thought that was pretty cute. But yeah, popped in the game and I have been amazed. This is easily the best Donkey Kong experience I've ever had in my life, and I'm really, really enjoying it so far. And yeah, like the main reason why this game is so good is that it's like a culmination of a lot of what made the Nintendo Switch's best games great. Like, going back to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, the one thing that'll definitely set that game apart from all Zeldas is just, the ooh shinies whenever you see a shrine. Donkey Kong Bonanza has those shrines to an extent. They call them challenges, so every level that you're in, or they're called layers in this game because what you're doing is you're diving through to the Earth's core in order to help Pauline get back to the surface. I know it makes no sense to dig to go up, but it is what it is there. And yeah, like you'll come across all these challenges that you can open up using Pauline's voice. And they can be different things like, arena rooms where you want to kill all the enemies to finding a way from point A to point B, similar to those secret areas from Mario Sunshine, or even going back to things like retro areas. So one cool game that I'm pretty sure we'd all expect was like they pretty much go into 2D mode a la Donkey Kong Country. And that being said, while it does give you that 2D plane, you do still have a lot of the moves that you had, a lot of the modern stuff at your disposal. Chris mentioned patting the ground. There's a destruction that you can cause with your fists by just beating up terrain. You can do that in the 2D levels too. One thing that I like is just the way everything has different rules. Like, for example, if you want a double jump, you have to be carrying something. So whether you're carrying a rock, you're carrying some dirt, this stuff allows you to throw it, it allows you to ride it, it allows you to use a double jump. So when I went through the first like retro Donkey Kong Country-esque level, you have to find like 3 bananas, and I found the last two. I went through the common path, and I did not know where the first one was. So, lo and behold, we're not before embargo anymore. So I looked up a guide, and yeah, the main way you got the first banana that you couldn't find is by backtracking through the very first part of the level and getting into DK's house. And if you remember from the original Donkey Kong Country, there was a trampoline or bed in the middle of his house or hut that you can use to get another item at the very top. And it's the same thing here. So having those little Easter eggs was pretty cool. And yeah, you actually have to use some effort to get to it because you actually earned or learn about the double jump like a few minutes before that. So it really goes ahead and tests your knowledge. So there's your comparison there. And then another comparison I want to make to those Zelda games is with the Bonanzas. So in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, you can use the Sheikah Slate or tablet or whatever to, summon the champions, right? You can summon the Goron, summon the Zora, summon the Rito, and things like that. And you can do things like fly, have more powerful punches and roll through. And it's the same sort of thing with Donkey Kong Bananza, and they call them Bonanzas. So the first one you run through is the Elder Ape, and basically he's just a more powerful Donkey Kong when you use it. There is also a zebra, and this zebra allows you to like run on any terrain, including water, whereas you'd probably just fall off. There's also a snake that can jump really high and stuff like that. I don't want to spoil them all, but it's also really cool just seeing how you're able to get through all these things. Chris mentioned the game being fairly easy to mainline. That's definitely the case. Throughout any point in the game, you can hold on the L button to see um, where you have to go on the map in order to move the story forward, and you can always do that. But at the same time, it's like it's going to be really fun just exploring every nook and cranny using the abilities you have. And normally, it's going to result in you finding something, whether it be a banana or a fossil, which you can use as currency to get Donkey Kong and Pauline new costumes. And these costumes have different kinds of abilities. So, for example, in the first world, the costumes allow you to swim faster. And then Pauline's costume allows you to use your Bonanza for a longer period of time. So yeah, like even though I'm not someone who really wanted to dress them up too much, at the same time, like you have to acknowledge all the Fortnite kids who want to be able to customize to their heart's content. But it's cool that they actually have actual effects to them. Granted, like sure, it'll make a relatively easy game easier, but at the same time, it's like cool. I definitely do have a reason to want to look for these things aside from just being cosmetics. Speaking of cosmetics, you can also change Donkey Kong's colors by buying different dyes. These don't do anything; they just pretty much change the way you look, and I don't really care for any of them. Like I don't know, I'm not someone who wants to run around with a green DK, so I'll go ahead and skip through that there. Another thing that you'll find are areas where you can just go to sleep. Again, like the game isn't too hard. You will die a few times, but it is easy to just get hit by things because in my opinion, like it doesn't DK doesn't really do a good job showing pain. You can go ahead and get hit by multiple enemies and it doesn't really feel like much. And the only time you'll really like feel pain as DK is either if you like fall into a bottomless pit, which of course leads to death, or jumping into lava or hot oil or things like that. Because yeah, then Donkey Kong will all of a sudden you'll lose control of him because he's running and the pain that he has. But yeah, like it's really easy to deplete your hearts in the game, so you end up finding yourself looking for a way to sleep it off. And when you do sleep it off, it actually leads to like one of the more charming parts of the game. Everything that Pauline says is fully voiced. I don't know who her voice actress is, but she does an extremely good job. And the conversations that she has before going to bed with DK are, very charming. They definitely add some character, they add some lore, they add some personality to everything happening, and that's something I really appreciate because I feel like Mario Odyssey, despite how much I loved it, lacked a lot of that. It was very Mario, but I didn't really care about what I was doing. Like you're going to save Peach from Bowser, whereas with Donkey Kong, like your whole thing is being able to bring Pauline back to the surface, and that'll call back memories of the original Donkey Kong game in the '80s for those who have played it, where you use Jumpman and you try to save Pauline from the evil Donkey Kong, but it's like, was he really being evil? We don't know. Maybe this actually explains it. Then again, like maybe not, because there is a lot of issues with lore and chronology here. Like just to say it, like Diddy Kong is in this game, and so is Cranky Kong. That being said, like Cranky Kong is supposed to be the original DK, so if you try to put two and two together, like the way people do with the Zelda lore, it's not really going to make much sense. But at the end of the day, like you have to be able to find different ways to appreciate the history. The music is all really well done. The DK rap does definitely find its way into the game. Beating certain enemies allows you to unlock records that you can use to play at the various places you sleep or things like that. And yeah, it's been really really cool. I've also really enjoyed the way the levels are paced. As I mentioned, like there are bananas everywhere. Like there's over 600 in the game, so don't be surprised if like the first level you go through has like 50 of them. And I believe you actually do have the ability to get everything within one go as long as you're able to find that level's bonanza. But yeah, like it's been really fun just being able to destroy the environment. There is gold aplenty. The gold allows you to pretty much power up your bonanza abilities in addition to you can use them to pay various people in the game to give you things like warp barrels and create bridges to just open up shortcuts within these worlds just because they're so expansive. That being said, like if you follow the main path, you just find a way to get lower and lower. The bosses are all pretty easy, but yeah, it's just the way that the levels are designed that I really appreciate. I just finished one that takes place in like a um in a fast food themed theme park, and you have to like ride a roller coaster and shoot people with salt. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, like what you're trying to do is you're trying to build the biggest burger possible by looking at all of the um attractions that are in this theme park. And yeah, definitely been a really good time. I think I'm in the last world, or if it's not the last world, I'm at a very very late one, just because like yeah, the difficulty has definitely shot up. You do have to think a little bit more about what you're doing, and it really reminds me of the space worlds in Super Mario Odyssey, where they weren't colorful and they were really dark with the way they were approached. And yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it so far. So hopefully by the next time we get to the next Day Zero update, maybe I'll have beaten it. And I'm hoping that they have as good a post game as they have in Mario Odyssey. But yeah, I am definitely impressed with this so far, and it's easily one of the best games I've played. And yes, it is the best game on the Switch 2 right now. So, Brandon, whenever you get your Switch 2, you want to make sure you get Donkey Kong along with it.
Yep,
Just
I'm
that.
making a note of it.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'm still playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. I've unlocked all of the courses in 3, which is pretty much like what I want to say is like what you want to do in order to really beat the game. Like, obviously, the game is all about getting the highest score with the skaters possible. But for me, I just want to be able to unlock all the courses, because in order to do that, you have to clear out as many goals as possible. Some are a lot harder than others. Some require you to actually like interact with certain things that are hard to get to, because they're all pretty much skill based. And when your skater is just moving like without much agency from you, it gets a little bit more difficult that way. And when you're upgrading your abilities, not only are you faster, but in my opinion, you also, even though it's easier to do tricks, it's a little bit more hard to maneuver. So it's really just finding that comfort zone, along with the fact that every run in the game is 2 minutes long, which is not really long if you really want to like explore things. So that being said, like there really isn't any sort of penalty for taking too long. It's really just about how you want to go through it. I remember like seeing a Reddit post about how much people hate Tony Hawk compared to Skate, and I'm like, this is the way Tony Hawk has always been. So I'm not sure like what you're talking about there, but yeah, that's been about it. Moving on, I've also played a little bit more College Football 26. I haven't been playing as much because I platinumed it, so I don't really see much of a reason to play it anymore. I'm ready for Madden, but yeah, I still play one-on-ones with my friends every once in a while, and I'm really enjoying that. And then lastly, I'm playing Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. I have about 10 hours into that game now, and yeah, I'm still living it on Dragon Quest mode, so I don't have to worry about dying all that much, because it just isn't all that fun, and I want to be able to finish this before 1 and 2 come out later this fall. So yeah, that's been about it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, let's get to some news.
Mm-hmm.
First up here, we have new Game Pass additions for the rest of this month.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of filled with some nice stuff here. Things that I didn't necessarily know was going to be on Game Pass. But yeah, the stuff that's available now. Let's see. It looks like High on Life came back to Game Pass on Ultimate PC Game Pass and Game Pass Standard. So if you want to, I guess, get ready for the sequel, you could do that now.
And get the ever-loving crap annoyed out of you.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. You can also just watch a movie.
Yeah.
At the beginning. So there's that. Let's see. Also available now, Rogue City. So yeah, if you haven't checked that one out, that's on Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass, and Game Pass Standard. It's a fun first-person shooter with RoboCop doing what he does best. Let's see. Also on Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass, My Friendly Neighborhood, which is a horror game about Muppets.
Yep.
Basically, you get stuck on the set of a like Sesame Street type of area, but a number of the Muppet characters have sort of run amok
Yeah.
done their thing. Some chase after you. Some are just doing their thing. You're trying to get around and trying to figure out what's going on and stop it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a game that can be pretty freaky.
Oh yeah.
Because when you get, I think when you get caught by one of them, they have their flapping heads
Yeah.
doing their thing while they're killing you. So
Mm-hmm.
fun times.
Yep.
Let's see. Also available now, Back to the Dawn on Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
This says it's a prison escape RPG.
Yep.
So that's neat. That could be pretty interesting.
Could be. I'll have a look in it.
Let's see the stuff coming up here. On Tuesday, Abiotic Factor, much like on PlayStation Plus. This is also on. You can check that out. It's the survival crafting game where you play with up to 6 players.
Yep.
In sort of a Half-Life style underground research facility.
Mm-hmm.
That looks neat. Let's see. On the 23rd, so Wednesday, Wheel World will be on Game Pass. Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. So yeah, that's the fun-looking game where you on a bike, I guess trying to save the world. From what this says. So yeah, that looks neat.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to checking that one out. On July 24th, there's Wuchang Fallen Feathers.
Yeah.
The Souls-like action RPG. Another one that's set in Chinese history in the Ming Dynasty. So you got that one to check out on. It's Thursday, the 24th. And then next week, on the 29th, which is Tuesday, Grounded 2 will be going into early access.
Mm-hmm.
So you can check out that on Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. As it takes place a few years later after the kids have returned back to their normal sizes, but then trapped in a new scheme that shrinks them again, and dealing with more bugs and such. So
Yep.
all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah, fun.
And then the last one here, which will be on Friday, August 1st, Farming Simulator 25 for Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass, and Game Pass Standard. So yeah, it's the newest one of those. Farms across North America and Central Europe or East Asia. So that sounds neat. There you go. That's your lineup. Some neat stuff there. Yeah, that'll be checking out. So there you go. Anything you're interested in, Brandon?
Honestly, not at the moment.
How about you, Danner?
Yes, and I'm playing it, and I can't talk about it yet. So.
All right.
Alrighty then.
Let's get to another game that you unfortunately cannot buy anymore.
Nope.
This is John Wick Hex was announced to be delisted on Thursday.
Yep.
Which got announced I think on like Monday. The publisher Big Fan Games posted a short message on the game's Steam page that would be removed from all platforms in 3 days.
Yeah.
Which it was on like Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. This is a Mike Bithell game from his studio.
Yep.
A game that had a decent bit of hype and was a pretty decent game.
Yeah.
Probably about as good as you could expect out of a big IP like that from a smaller developer that hadn't really made any games like this before.
Yeah.
But I managed to grab a Steam key for $4.
Yeah.
So I'll be playing that at some point. Like the John Wick franchise hasn't really been much of a big game franchise. I think there was a VR game that they made at some point that is also no longer available. So
yeah, which is weird if you think about it, because like if there's any franchise that seems to be just made for gaming, it's the John Wick one.
Yeah, there is a game, I forget what it's called, that it's not a licensed game, but it's very much got a lot of John Wick energy to it. some of that kind of stuff. But yeah, sad to see, but not too surprising for a licensed game here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, definitely weird, especially since it came from Mike Biffle did Thomas Was Alone, and obviously had his own issues with toxicity for a little bit there. But just ignoring all that, yeah, it's definitely weird because normally you don't see an indie in charge of an IP, especially one as like well known as John Wick, and all of a sudden this happened. So it's weird. I unfortunately did not get a chance to play the game. I never bought it either, and I actually just bought it. I bought the PS4 version off Play Asia this morning for about like $50, but it's going on eBay for more, so I don't regret it too much. I just hope the game is actually in it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. We have some Nintendo news. That weird playtest sandbox game thing they did last year seems to be coming back. They announced that on this link here, you can apply for it yourself if you have not done so previously. I guess if you were in the previous playtest, you kind of just get in automatically. They're taking applications until Monday morning, I think. It's a weird process where you can create the application, but you can't submit it until sometime Monday morning, sometime after the deadline to start it, I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit weird with all that. So yeah, that's a thing they're doing. Playtest period's going to go from July 28th to August 10th, so a couple of weeks there to play it. But you have to have a let's see, an active Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership as of last Thursday. Be over 18 and be from a certain like 7 or 8 countries here: Japan, United States, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Canada, Brazil, or Mexico. So yeah, you can apply with a group. So if you get the opportunity, they give you like a link that you can send to a couple of people to join with you for that. So that's the way you can do it. But yeah, there you go. That's the thing that people will weirdly leak and talk about in ways that the NDA probably doesn't allow. There's been a decent bit of that stuff happening with the previous playtests, so I assume that'll continue to go here as people wonder what the heck this game's going to be released as. It even will be released. This is certainly one of the weirdest games they've developed as far as how they've made it available to people. Because I don't think they've done any real public playtesting like this on anything outside of like beta before launch kind of stuff. So yeah, there you go. Something interesting Nintendo's doing here.
Yeah. I do want to see like what it is they're doing. Like this weird, like they've been very vague about it, and I'm not really sure like what it is they're trying to do here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been interesting because the last time they did this, like you normally expect people to just break embargo anyway, but I think they did a pretty good job like keeping things tight-lipped. And when they first did it, I thought it would just be for like Switch 2 features, but it ended up being for something else entirely. So I don't know what to expect out of it at all. I remember when they first did it, I was hoping it would be like a Street Pass thing, but it wasn't. So I don't know.
Yeah. So there you go for that. Let's see, we got a couple games coming out next week at the end of the month, as if we needed more games coming out on that day, because I think I have here on the list 5 games already coming out on the 31st, and we're going to add 2 more. First up here is Dead Take, the new game from Surgent Studios, which is a horror FMV game with some interesting actors in it. Yeah, there's Neil Newborn, who plays Asterion in Baldur's Gate 3. Ben Starr is in this, who's been in Final Fantasy 16 and Clair Obscur. Expedition 33, and all that. So yeah, this will be out next Friday.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting looking game. Oh yeah, they also mentioned here Jane Perry, Matt Mercer, Laura Bailey, Sam Lake, Travis Willingham, Alana Pierce, Connor Seadog, Falcon, and music by Ross Tregenza. So a lot of interesting names in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because Tales from Zero did not do super well, and it seems like it's at least going to be something that at least appeals to something that does pretty decently, a lot on Steam and the consoles, with some horror stuff, especially when you got interesting ideas that seems like they do for this one. So yeah, that's one that looks pretty neat. So yeah, there you go. Also coming out on July 31st, there's Cook Serve Forever, the in that franchise. The Cook Serve Delicious franchise is one they've been doing early access on PC for a good bit. Yeah, since May 2023. So they've done a lot of work of improving things. I think it launched in early access at a bit of a rough state. So this one looks like it's turned the corner and has some really nice stuff going on here. A bunch of new things, new recipes, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this one out and seeing how it goes. So yeah, that's one will be on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC, and yeah, PC as well. So yeah, that's cool. Another one to look forward to. Let's see. For a couple weeks after that, the Dragon Drive game that Nintendo announced a while ago will be coming out. I think August 14th. I think it is. They announced that they're going to have a global jam demo event that will be happening essentially on like August 9th and 10th here at very specific times. You've seen how they've done this before. This is not really too big of a surprise. Essentially seems to give most regions at least two decently set chunks of time to play. Here in the US, the first one's on August 9th at 3 a.m. Pacific time to 7 a.m. Pacific time.
Yep.
And there's also one on the 9th at 5 p.m. Pacific time and 9 p.m. Pacific time. That's a bit better for most of the country.
Yeah.
And the 10th is at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. So yeah, that's also another one that's better for the U.S. So yeah, should be in most areas. At least two of these are in decent enough times for people to check out. But yeah, that'll be time to see what the hell that game is if you're gonna enjoy it. With that, so yeah, there you go. I wanted to keep there, and yeah, this is for NSO members, obviously. They're gonna need that to check this thing out. But yeah, maybe I'll try and stream that if I can. We'll see. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like normally when they put out these demos, it's also usually around the time like codes are put out, but also it's Nintendo, and I wouldn't expect anything early anyway. So yeah, I definitely look forward to trying these out. I don't know if I'll have time within these blocks, but yeah, like everything I've heard from people, they either didn't like it or thought it was cool, but it was too tiring. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. Next up here, Q Games announced 2 games coming out on the same day, on October 10th. They announced that Pixel Junk Eden 2 for PS5, PS4, and PC will finally be out.
Yeah.
That's when they announced, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, that they were going to have out fairly quickly, and it just kind of took longer than they thought. So yeah, that'll be PS5, PS4, PC, and that's Steam and Epic Game Store for that. They also announced that Dreams of Another, their PS5, PSVR 2, and PC game will also be out October 10th. And the neat thing they're doing is they're doing a bundle of the 2 games. so that if you buy that, essentially pre-order that, you will be able to start playing on October 7th. Check it out. Check out both of them early, which is a neat idea. I looked on the PlayStation Store, and it looked like that bundle is what was it? I'm gonna look this up real quick. I believe it was like $35 for the game itself. I think 42.49 for the bundle, which seems like a decent enough price for that. Since you're also essentially pre-ordering this, the bonuses, there's 2 bonus pajamas for the man in pajamas in Dreams of Another. So I guess you get some outfits there, and Pixel Junk Eating 2 comes with some PSN avatars there. So that's kind of the 2 bonuses. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to Dreams of Another, and Pixel Junk Eden 2 is a game I was out, but I would certainly like to play what seems like it should be the best version of that game, because it kind of started as a mobile game that's all that interesting. They did a Switch port that was a bit better, but also still a little bit rough around the edges. Redone a bit, especially making it look real nice for 4K and all that. So yeah, looking forward to these. Yeah, so there you go. And then the last up here for the dates, we found out that the first game on our upcoming releases list to get delayed is Inazuma 11 Victory Road. Was delayed from August 21st to November 13th. So you no longer have to worry about that game. At least for a few more months.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be out on everything. PS5, PS4, Switch, Switch 2, Xbox, PC, all that stuff. So yeah, it seems like they still need more work. They say, due to the content volume exceeding our initial expectations, additional time is required for voice recording, multi-language localization, and other related processes. As we work toward the final stages of development, we have decided to adjust the release date to ensure the best possible quality. Which is like, yeah, those seem like things you don't want to be rushing for launch. So yeah, that's hopefully that turns out well. Definitely worked for Fantasy Life I, making sure it was delayed until it was ready for launch. That has done very well for them. I think the last number I saw was 1.2 million units sold, which is great. So hopefully this one turns out well too.
Yeah, I've never actually heard of this one. But normally when they say that, oh, it's a larger undertaking than we expected, they're taking more time. Normally it's a good thing. Level 5 did the same thing with Fantasy Life, and that ended up being good. So hopefully they can do that with this. I'm not sure if this is a known anime IP, but yeah, it looks nice for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's a soccer RPG. They've made a couple of those, especially on the 3DS. That was where a couple of those were made, and I think we only got one of them because that was their whole weird period where they were focusing on the Japanese market, not much the rest of the world. So that's kind of where that one came from. This seems like their big console version of it, so that looks like that's going to be neat. Speaking of console RPGs, we found out more information about Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, particularly for the Switch and Switch 2, is that Square Enix is not going to allow you to upgrade from one to the other. I believe the Switch version has the full game on it, and the Switch 2 version is the game key card, so people have been wondering if they're going to be able to get the Switch version and do the upgrade, however that's going to work, and Square Enix is like, no, you got to buy both if you want both of them, which is a very Square Enix thing to want to do. So yeah, that's certainly annoying a lot of people. Because the Switch 1 version they say in their FAQ will work on Switch 2, but the Switch 2 version won't work on the Switch 1, which has been like a bonus thing that some of these cross-platform Switch 2 games have been able to do. But yeah, playing Switch 1 version on Switch 2 won't unlock its improved version, but rather will run exactly the same as it would on the original console, which not really too surprising for them. So yeah, you're gonna have to spend $60 twice if you want it on both. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this is beyond asinine. Obviously, I am very much looking forward to Dragon Quest 1 and 2, especially as I'm playing through 3 right now. And yeah, like, this makes no sense. We already knew Nintendo's policy didn't make any sense, and all of a sudden Square Enix chose to not make sense either. That being said, like, my strategy for, Switch and Switch 2 games moving forward was to buy Switch 1 games and then just go ahead and download and pay for whatever update I have to do so with the eShop. Because one, like, look at the two box arts. Okay, the Switch 2 box art. I'm not even mad about the 2 on top. I've gotten used to that. I don't like the writing on the bottom that talks about it being a key card. Like, that's ridiculously dumb. So even if I didn't care about key cards, I would want to go with the Switch 1 version to begin with. But now that I can't even update, that kind of sucks. The main thing, though, is that I would not expect that big of a difference between the Switch 1 or Switch 2 game anyway, because let's not forget that the HD 2D remaster thing started with the Switch to begin with. So I don't really need to see this in 4K or anything like that. And yeah, it's just weird. This kind of just makes me want to go with PlayStation, but at the same time, all of my Dragon Quest games are Nintendo, so it's weird. I honestly do not know what to do. I'm gonna hope I get a code and just forget about it. But I do have the Switch 1 version pre-ordered. But this was the day before they mentioned this happening, so I don't know. I am at a weird spot with this, and it sucks.
Yeah, I was trying to check if they did. I think it's just on PS5. I was gonna find it funny if they did a PS4 and PS5 are bundled together on this, but not on Switch. But it seems like it's just only on the PS5 because that's the only platform that can handle Dragon Quest 1 and 2 and all that. But yeah, that seems to be the case here. So yeah, that's a fun thing because I think it was supposed to be coming to PS4 at some point. But yeah, I think it was just only announced for PS5. Must have just canceled that at some point. So yeah, there you go. Some fun Square Enix news to get annoyed by, and now we'll go to Apple. Where they have decided that they are going to delist or remove this indie game called Wheels of Aurelia from the App Store because it has not been updated in 7 years, despite its running just fine on the modern Apple devices, not really needing an update. But the Apple Store policy is that you need to be updated for the specific standards they need for the modern releases, the support for the specific little things that they need. I've seen the devs saying, yeah, they have it here. Updating Wheels of Aurelia at this stage would demand very significant resources solely to refresh the engine and SDK elements without providing meaningful enhancements to user experience or artistic value. They've tried to get in contact with Apple to clarify this stuff, but they seem to not really care on this. And yeah, this is not really a huge surprise because Apple does not really care about backwards compatibility on mobile games. They've been fully fine with updating these the tech baseline for these phones and the iPad and all that, and just letting a bunch of games just disappear into the ether, even if they would have run just fine on the new devices. Which has also been pretty much the same for Android as well. Mobile gaming is just kind of a hellhole at this point of games just dying off and having no real great way to preserve them and keep playing them. Unless you just literally keep that exact phone or whatever device needed to play it and hope that nothing ever causes it to break, which is an unreasonable thing to have when you have most everything else about your phone app set up, transferring over to your new phones just fine. This is the sort of thing that just kind of makes the gaming on these devices annoying a lot of times.
Yep.
So yeah, kind of the fun situation this developer has found themselves in for a game that runs just fine and doesn't need all that extra bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there you go. Some real fun stuff there. So yeah. Let's see here. Virtuos, support developer that's worked on a lot of ports and all kinds of different projects, including the main developer on Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, one of the biggest releases of the year, has announced that they are laying off 300 people. When you're like, oh, how can that be when they've worked on that's the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater remake is them as well. They've also been working with CD Projekt Red on Cyberpunk 2077 updates and all that. This broke in France when a reporter revealed the studio would be calling about 7% of its staff. It had 4,200 employees across multiple countries, including the US, China, Ireland, Singapore, and France. Most of the layoffs are in the company's Chinese subsidiary. They work on a lot of games. Port projects for Hogwarts Legacy, Nier Automata, Horizon West. This is kind of what happens with a lot of support studios and port studios and all that. These kind of jack of all trades studios that do a bit of everything. Is that they don't really get paid too much out of this stuff. I believe the word was essentially that their pitch to get the job for Oblivion Remastered was like, oh, we're not going to get any of the revenue for that game, which is not really because they didn't want it. It's because they're pitching against other studios that will also make those same kind of like pitches as well. Like, oh, we're also not gonna take revenue from this and that we need, and this much time we can do this and all that kind of stuff, and end up making what, in all intents purposes, was a pretty solid remake for that game, and not really benefit too much of it, other than that's another thing that can go on their list of resume stuff for pitching to other studios.
Yeah.
That unfortunately ends up leading to this kind of stuff where I think they say 200 roles in Asia, 70 roles in Europe, including fewer than 10 in France, are getting laid off here, amongst some other people. But yeah, as part of their ongoing investment that reflects our intent to grow in areas where our expertise and scale create lasting value while selecting exiting service segments where demand is weakening, which is all jargon for the sort of jobs that they're taking on from partners and all that. And yeah, sad to see, but yeah, this is kind of the life that this kind of studio deals with, for the ability to work on all of these kind of projects here. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Studios like Virtuos that primarily do support work and like things like remakes and things like that, they typically don't make a whole lot because of what you just said. They're trying to pitch to studios to handle more work, but when you have no revenue share, all right, how are you going to pay your people who were already underpaid to begin with? And the rough catch-22 is that, especially in this era where publishers don't really want to take a chance and they just want to release things from already established IP like an Oblivion, like it should work and like there should be some stability. If not, they should at least know what's coming next. And it appears that there isn't. I don't know how many people are going to work on both Oblivion and Metal Gear Solid because, obviously Metal Gear Solid hasn't come out yet. We don't know who's on that staff, and they're pretty much usually not allowed to say that they've worked on it until after. We'll see there. Hopefully, these people can land other jobs elsewhere, perhaps with studios that actually want to do their own original content and go from there. But at the same time, it's like, I've never played Oblivion. A lot of people did like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we're in an era where there are a lot of IP that need to be resurrected, whether it be with a remake or whether it would be with a port. So you would think that there'd be some stability there, but at the same time, Virtuos is one of many. So
Yeah.
and that therein lies the problem.
Yeah, and not just like need to be like resurrected, but in some places they need to be, shall we say, streamlined a little bit. Oblivion is kind of a good example. It's definitely like a bit easier to play now, because they've got Skyrim behind them, and that sort of showed like how they could do an art game of that scale and make it like fairly easy to comprehend. But a lot of the old sort of the baggage that Oblivion had with how complicated its UI could be, it's still there. um and like it's the same thing with like I've been playing the remaster of System Shock 2. Same thing. The UI kind of sucks. And a lot of those games could really use a retooling, like very much so.
Yeah. So that also depends on the tools under it, or how
Yeah,
much they can actually change. Some games are
that
easier
is
to
true.
do that, and others are like full of old code that's
Mhm.
you try to change certain things, it'll just cause everything to fall apart.
Yeah, like any sort of change you can make can absolutely break the game. Definitely the truth. But like, yeah, just talking about these kinds of studios in general. Like when we talk about companies like Virtuos, it also brings up places like Bluepoint, which is owned by Sony, and I believe they're based in Texas. And then there's Grezzo, who has done a lot of the Zelda remakes for Nintendo. I'm not sure if they're owned by Nintendo, but yeah, at the same time, it's like as Microsoft has proven, it doesn't matter who owns it either. So it's always going to be a risk.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Some bummer news there. Let's see what else. What other bummer news we have here? King, the supposed real thing that Microsoft wanted out of the Activision King acquisition.
Yeah.
They suffered a number of layoffs in the last round of it.
Yeah, and now we found out why. Or at
Yeah, it
least some
seems
of
like
them.
part of this whole process, about 200 people were laid off across King.
Mm-hmm.
Many impacted staff are reportedly in limbo until union negotiations wrap up in September. So they may be dealing with whatever buyouts negotiations there. But it seems like also as part of this process, they had been working with AI tools for working on Candy Crush content, and seems like it's expected that that may just be replacing those people, at least some of them. Yeah, somebody here saying most of level design has been wiped, which is crazy since they've spent months building tools to craft levels quicker. Those AI tools are basically replacing the teams. Similarly, the copywriting team is completely removing people since we now have AI tools that those individuals have been creating. Which copywriting definitely seems like a thing that AI could do well enough to get by on things. You probably have somebody just to go over the text to be like, "Oh, this all sounds good enough." Lola design stuff is kind of wild, but also being Candy Crush, I could see the game feeding like all the however many fucking levels they have in one of those games now. Just feeding a ton of those and it's just designing more like that. Seems like that could be something that works better than you'd like. But yeah, this is one of those situation that really sucks. But yeah, the bots, the AI bot stuff is going to be in more places like this, unfortunately, especially in the mobile space where they can squeeze that much more profit out of it when they don't have to pay as many people to make the content. When it's just basically puzzle stages and such. Yeah, that's seems to be the one of the things behind the King layoffs. So yeah.
that was a little bit rough. Obviously, as somebody who has experienced being bought by another company while working in mobile, it's tough to hear. But at the same time, the AI thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially like when you're considering a game like Candy Crush, that's obviously going to be reliant on microtransactions.
Uh-huh.
And the thing that makes mobile gaming a little bit, I don't want to say easier because at the end of the day, it's more work. But with mobile gaming, you can correct a problem like that. And as we talked about earlier, sometimes correcting a problem will result in other things breaking. But yeah, like the key basis here is going to be things like customer service and live ops, and you can't replace any of those two things with AI. So yeah, it's just dumb all around, and
Yeah.
sucks to
Unfortunately, as far as like game developers go, King is like the platonic ideal of what a developing company being taken over by AI tools is. Because you can just like look at what their products are, look at what they put out. It's fairly formulaic. Yeah, like look at their art direction, for crying out loud. Like that is their art direction is generic as all hell and very easily could be taken over by AI. So much so that I'm pretty sure they've already used a ton of AI in their art direction already. Um, but then there's just like the way those games are. Like pretty much all of their games are match 3 games or some variation thereof. And all of them have the more or less same endless travel quest sort of format. So the idea, unfortunately, that they could be replaced by AI, like it sucks and it's diabolical, but it's like that whole company was just ready made for that shit to take over.
Yeah, especially when the audience is a lot of older people that are not going to be that discerning about things,
Mm-hmm.
about this kind of stuff.
you can say
Unfortunately,
that. I mean, like the thing about these whales is that at the same time, like they deservedly so are the most entitled people you'll come across in customer service, and I'm pretty sure they're already outsourced at this point, but they're not going to handle being talked to by a machine all that well. Uh, like they can't even use like a basic smartphone feature, so all of a sudden having to talk to AI to solve your problem is going to lead to a lot of uh, cycling back and forth, and that's ultimately also what makes these quote unquote whales leave the game. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and that's not going to happen with AI. So tough to see all around. At the same time, it's not exactly like the most wavering way I want to see a company make money either. But yeah, it's lame.
yeah.
Mm.
So there you go on that front, but it's not the only Xbox news. We got the weird kind of abrupt news that they are now used to be the video marketplace. But yeah, they've essentially stopped that immediately on I think July 18th. I think it was when they just shut it all down. Um, if you own stuff on there, you can still use it to watch movies and TV shows you purchased. Like most of that I have either were things given away for free or things that I had like credit for. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to spend $4 on. I think I bought Paddington 2 because it had Movies Anywhere support. So I was like, at least I can watch this somewhere else. Um, that kind of stuff. I think I have like the original episodes of The Guild that they put up on free on Xbox Live back in the day when that was new. Stuff like that. I was looking up when this, because everybody's like, oh, started like acting like it started in the Xbox One. It's like, I know that was the whole big pitch of the center of your living room, hook up your cable to it and all that, but they started that marketplace back in 2006, essentially about a year after the 360's launch, where they started selling stuff then. Where I think you could download the TV stuff and had to stream the movie stuff, but then they eventually allowed you to download both and stream both and whatever you needed to do, and all that. And yeah, just kind of one of those things that is not necessary anymore, I guess. The having a device dedicated to you're buying your TV and movies at this point. So it's like I was looking at but I think like Hard Boiled and a bunch of those movies that were never really available anywhere over here in the West. Finally started showing up on places, and it was only I think Amazon, Apple, and I think maybe Fandango. There at this point are a notable video marketplace. I think it's because they bought Vudu. I think it's that version of Vudu. And it's like nowhere else can you watch it. So you have to buy it, and it's like reasonable prices for it. But yeah, it's like that stuff where it's almost platform agnostic. The Xbox video stuff is a little bit of that. I think you can watch PC and your Xbox, but that's as far as it goes. There's no app on PlayStation or your phone. I don't think that you can watch that stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is kind of a whole system that is kind of ancient in terms of feature set compared to what your other services have to offer. So it's not really too surprising, especially if Microsoft is looking at ways to cut costs and serving up all this movie and TV show stuff that you have to keep updating with new things and doing deal promotions and all that kind of stuff. Definitely seems like a thing where they would like, you know what, we're done with this crap. Because I imagine not many people buy that stuff anymore as they used to, especially as you can get a lot of it on stream at this point. So yeah, kind of the sad to see it go, but the app is still going to be there to watch it.
Yep.
I'm sure it's not going to be a huge priority to make sure it's as good as possible for people. But yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting, especially like Xbox was one of, or Microsoft rather, is one of the first companies to really pioneer buying things digital. Like we all know what Don Matrick did with the Xbox One, and that wasn't really that far fetched, to what eventually happened, less than a decade later. So, the other thing that's surprising is that almost every company does this, so I don't know like what kind of losses they're experiencing even with the growth of streaming. So you would think it would be a slam dunk no matter where you go, even if it's not your traditional platform. As Chris mentioned, like Movies Anywhere is huge. I personally love Movies Anywhere, especially, well, not even especially, but it is interesting because I do still prefer to buy my movies on Blu-ray, and at the same time, I only buy them when they include a digital code, so I can put it into Movies Anywhere. And when it's not Movies Anywhere compatible, I just get annoyed. And yeah, it is interesting to see them take this route. But yeah, like especially with where Microsoft and Xbox right now is as a company, it seems like their next effort may or may not be their last. You wonder what this kind of move does for what they think of entertainment and how these other companies are going to move forward as well, because I don't know if anyone else is going to just jump out of it. It just seems like it makes sense. So, it's weird stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go for that. We do have an update on the continued Crafton Subnautica 2 situation.
Which is still like, it's just, it's one of those stories. It's the gift that keeps on,
right here.
Yeah, gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, mostly that the trio founders have filed their complaint in court as part of the lawsuit process. And yeah, so it's a 58-page lawsuit. People have checked into it and found some interesting new details. Yeah, mentions an alleged ramping up efforts by Crafton to delay Subnautica 2's planned 2025 release in order to avoid triggering provisions from the October 2021 sale of the studio that will lead to $250 million payout, bonus payout if certain sales goals are met through early 2026. According to this lawsuit, the terms of that agreement prohibited Crafton from firing any of the founders without cause or interfering in the studio's business in any way that might impact that payout. Unknown Worlds would, quote unquote, maintain operational companies in all material respects, including for both existing and new products, product roadmap, launch planning, partnering, budgeting, and employee matters, as long as at least one of the co-founders remain employed there. And yeah, And they claim the business relationship didn't get bad until earlier this year when projections for Subnautica 2's sales were shared with Crafted management, one of which showed them hitting the targets required for the $250 million payout. So yeah, interesting information here, and you can read for more of it here. But yeah, a lot of stuff that certainly doesn't look great for Crafton here.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if this actually ends up going to court, if there's some sort of settlement that happens or whatever. To see how that goes. But yeah, this certainly isn't cooling off anytime soon just yet. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Brandon said, this story is the gift that keeps on giving. Obviously, like, I don't think there is a world where Crafton wins this case, but we have seen worse things happen. So I also wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But yeah, it's lame. It is what it is here. I hope the developers for Subnautica 2 go ahead and get their due, especially when they're all saying that, yeah, like if we wanted to, put it out in early access now, like we totally can. And obviously, like, Subnautica was a game that really put this studio on the map. So a lot of people are going to expect a lot of things from part 2. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, the other thing is that companies aren't even shy of doing this either. Like, this might even happen in your, like, everyday life. Like, I don't know how many of you are football fans. Like, this happens in the NFL all the time. Like, guys like Russell Wilson get screwed out of their contract because the coach all of a sudden finds out he can reach an escalator by playing game 8, and all of a sudden he's not starting, and then the reasons why he's not starting are absolute bullshit. So, except with this, instead of affecting one employee, you're affecting a whole lot of people. And obviously, when you're going into their pockets, it's a really serious situation, and hopefully they can get their due here.
Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely going to be something that's going to be messy for a bit, until we see like actual court stuff happening. But yeah, for now it's just going to be a lot of this kind of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. And the last of our bad news here is that Steam is now stepped into this weird situation where, as the result of dealing with their payment processors, MasterCard and Visa, they have taken down a bunch of games from the Steam store, mostly porn games, stuff like that violates the rules that these payment processors have for things they'll fund. This is like a thing that's been happening for a while. Remember when OnlyFans tried to go try to make a real big buildup of non-porn content being on their platform that never really went anywhere. That was part of that. But yeah, this seems like the whole thing. They have a new rule here. They added content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers. In particular, certain kinds of adult-only content are now listed as things that should not be published on Steam. Which, if you've used Steam a good bit, you've seen a lot of these games show up under new releases and whatnot. A lot of which are just kind of interesting to look at and see like what kind of wild shit people are coming up with. Then you find like games that are called Sex with Hitler and that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, we're going to weird places. So it's like it's not much there that you're like, oh no, how bad, but also that they're being forced through this through the payment processors is a very shitty thing, and kind of a thing that's been a problem for a while, as platforms of various kinds are being forced to go against their rules because the people running these kind of increasingly look like they are right-wing evangelical people that want to turn everything into puritanical shitholes, essentially. So yeah, there's a lot of details here about the way this stuff is going. Now not really too big of a surprise with the way that Valve has basically been running their like a libertarian hell, which means Nazis get to do whatever they want if they spend money. And yeah, they had this Vice article that showed up the other day, essentially going into the group that may be behind this, claiming ownership of pushing the Visa MasterCard towards this, an Australian group called Collective Shout that claims, I believe they are essentially a turf group that has taken responsibility for changes to Steam's payment processors that resulted in the removal of various adult games with taboo themes. They wrote this on their official website. Then they're targeting nearly 500 games for removal on Steam, with 81 more that they still want to be removed. They have the backing of various anti-porn groups behind them. The National Center on Sexual Exploitation and Exodus Cry. Coalition Against Trafficking Women in the UK. And the UK org Cease. A lot of information here on this. The interesting thing that ended up happening is that Vice's owners, a company called, I think, Savage Ventures, must have gotten attention from Collective Shout for having this article on Vice, so they ended up pulling it earlier today as a result. Yep. So the link here is to a web archive version of it. So you can see a lot of this, the whole article here, if you want to check it out. And sort of showing the, unfortunately, increasing power of these kind of groups in a lot of spaces in our society. In many countries that are unfortunately becoming more and more powerful, and these people do not care about any sort of free expression, especially because they have enough money backing them that they can kind of get whatever they want done, especially when they can influence, Visa, MasterCard on this stuff. So yeah, leads to a lot of awful things happening. Unfortunately, it seems like we're not going to stop anytime soon. So yeah, there you go. That's the weird situation Valve and Steam are in.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We got a couple nice stories here, unless you got something to add, Brandon.
No, other than I hate when shit like this happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. Let's see. We got two good stories here. First up, the next cover story for Game Informer. I think anybody that's been looking forward to it has lost hope that it would ever come out. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. But
actually happening. I would not believe it if I didn't see it with my own eyes.
Yeah, so they have that. We'll be launching digitally on Tuesday. So you can start reading it in the digital archives on your account there on Game if you need. Issues will probably show up in a handful of weeks here. Borderlands 4 just started arriving this past week, so yeah, they'll be posting some details here and there when they get the chance to. So yeah, that's a game that's going to be a real thing. It looks like also there'll be a poster included with the issue, so that's coming back. That's the thing I don't think I've seen in a long time in a magazine. We used to get posters in them that always look bad because they're folded up so much, but otherwise it was a nice thing to have up. So there you go. That's the thing to look forward to.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've used the word centerfold. So I unfortunately I subscribed too late to get this. But the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is definitely a huge get, especially since we haven't heard from them in years. And good of them to go ahead and invite Game Informer, who was gone for a few months with what happened to them. And, I'm glad they had the budget to go ahead and go to England for it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. And the last thing here, we'll end on Summer Games Done Quick had their events over the past week. That had a lot of cool stuff happening there. Seen of it yet? I'll have to look at the YouTube account and see what cool stuff was there. But they raised $0.4 million for Doctors Borders, which is great because yeah, that's a charity that can help out with some of the shortcomings with the end of U.S. foreign aid in a lot of ways that could have helped out on a lot of medical things around the world, but this group at least will be able to help with some of that stuff. So yeah, that is good to see, and yeah, definitely go check out their YouTube channel and see a lot of cool speedrun stuff, especially some of the stunt stuff they do, where people are doing weird things for playing games in unusual ways and races and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this is awesome. I've heard about this event. I just didn't know like what kind of like work went into it. And as somebody that works for a gaming nonprofit, I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I'm happy to see, gamers coming together to raise money for great causes and at the same time like have their content actually be interesting. So the speedrunning community isn't something that I haven't really delved too far with, but whenever I do watch stuff, I watch for quite a bit because it's always like cool to see.
Yeah, it's always good to find like games and especially look at the length of the videos and be like, how the fuck did they beat this in 10 minutes? And you watch it, you're like, all right, this person's played this enough and knows like all the various bugs and glitches to take advantage of to do this. And you're like, all right, that's some wild shit. There's like as a Balatro run here that's a wild thing to see. I've heard good things about that one. That's like 57 minutes.
Yeah, hearing
You
a
want to
speed
see
run
that
about a card
game?
game is interesting.
Yeah, somebody figured out a good way to make that game. So yeah, there's a lot of wild stuff like that. So I'm trying to see what other things they have here. There's neon white stuff, which yeah, that's not too surprising. Yeah, I believe there's a blueprints one in here that I saw bingo style game around it. It's like that's got to be pretty interesting. For that, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. So yeah, that's a fun one, and yeah, I think we're gonna end the show here. So yeah, thank you to Brandon and Dinner for joining this week. We'll be back next week with a new slate of news and things to talk about. Yeah, we'll be back just before the end of the month as this week has a bunch of games. Let's see, Ludo, Monument Valley 3, Wild Gates, Wheel World, WWE 2K25 for the Switch 2, and Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV for the Switch 2. Wuchong Fallen Feathers, No Sleep for Kaname Date from AI The Somnium Files, Wild Hearts S for the Switch 2, which from the demo, word around the demos that it doesn't run well, so which it didn't really run well in the other consoles, so it's not really a huge surprise, but this is a big week for Switch 2. There's at least 4 games here, I think I see. So yeah, that's some stuff to look forward to. But yeah, if you enjoy the show for that friends and family note, check out the show and select strangers that are also into summer games done quick and awesome games done quick and all the cool stuff there. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you have a good week ahead. We will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Bye.
See you.